Now to a 2 News investigation. The devastation in the town of Moore put the need for storm shelters in the limelight.
And 2 News investigators found a long list of Moore residents waiting for shelters that never came. 2 News investigator Marla Carter's here to tell us exactly what went wrong. Marla?
Yeah, Russ and Karen, the program is called the Sooner Safe program, and it's designed to help people out financially. But the 2 News investigators poured through thousands of documents and found that many people were left waiting while the government sat by. As the 2-mile-wide EF5 tornado paved the landscape of Moore, Heather Rhodes watched the TV from work.
So I knew it was going to hit the house and possibly the school.
Are you ready to perform tomorrow?
Meanwhile, Courtney Fristad was having an internal debate about picking up her daughter.
And I went back and forth all day on if I should go and get her and my nieces and nephews that go to Moore.
I waited for it to go over while they took shelter in the school.
That morning, both Heather and Courtney's kids were here inside the Plaza Tower Elementary School. The tornado ripped apart the building and claimed 7 lives. 2 years earlier, Heather and Courtney thought about a day like this happening when they signed up for the Sooner Safe program. It started in 2011. People could sign up for the program and get a rebate after installing a storm shelter. The program is paid for through federal dollars and run by the state of Oklahoma.
Over the last 2 years, we've done over 500 rebates each year. So that's 500 families, 1,000 families, about 1,100 so that we've done.
Well, the program has helped 1,100 families. The 2 News investigators obtained the waiting list for the program. It has 22,000 people waiting.
But we're only drawing 500 a year, so we're never going to meet that need.
That's right. So many are waiting, they randomly select who gets a shelter. In fact, 1,600 people are on the waiting list in Moore alone. The 2 News investigators looked at the 1 square mile hardest hit by the Moore tornado. That's this area. And each one of the dots represents one of the homes that applied for the Sooner Safe program. There are 57 in all. Of the 57 that applied, only 1 got help from the Sooner Safe program.
Wow, that's crazy. I just can't believe it. I don't know what happened with that, like why they didn't select more.
Courtney is on the waiting list.
The years went by and I never heard anything from him. A couple times I called and they said that they still hadn't made any selections yet.
So is Heather. Both live in the hardest hit area. They, along with all the other red dots, are waiting. But the 2 News investigators found the people were never told that the shelters weren't coming.
If they're not gonna pick so many or whatever, somehow notify the others that have registered that they've already made their selections and you weren't selected.
So why aren't more people getting help from the Sooner Safe program? It comes down to money. There are 2 FEMA programs that fund Sooner Safe.
Most of our funding for mitigation comes after disasters are declared, so you can't count on disasters always being declared.
Making it worse, Ashwood says the other FEMA fund that pays for the program is at risk of getting cut. Still, the head of emergency management says
this is strictly an incentive program. You should not sit back and wait. If it's something you can afford, like a safe room, the bottom line, it's an insurance policy you only have to pay for one time. So there's not re-upped every year. It's either an importance or a priority in your life and something you can afford, or it's not.
Courtney says that's easier said than done. Storm shelters don't come cheap.
My husband did not want to get it because of the finances, because of all the money it was going to cost. This is our storm shelter.
Courtney went ahead and got a shelter on her own. It cost $2,500, and that's on the low end. She got it just 1 month before the May 20th tornado, and it helped make her decision that day about whether or not to pick up her daughter.
I picked her up last from Plaza Towers, and we got there 20 minutes before the tornado hit.
And into the shelter just in time.
We could just hear the tornado over us within a few minutes.
That was the living room, and then into
Meanwhile,
the kitchen.
Heather's children were in Plaza Towers when the tornado hit, and she looked for them as soon as she could get there.
And it took me 3.5 hours to find them. That's the electrical meter.
They were safe. 8-year-old Alex was a little banged up, but okay. 7-year-old Leanne, her daughter, was scared, but okay. As for her home,
this is my house, or was my house.
She says only 1 wall was left standing, and if she'd had a shelter, her kids would have been in it.
Are you nervous about being inside such a big school?
Heather and Courtney just hope Congress and the state finds the funding for more shelters.
It's the difference between life and death. It's that crucial.
Now, the state emergency management says that it doesn't notify people because technically they're still on the list. So in theory, down the road, they could still get a storm shelter.
It is an incredibly valuable program. Now, are there any other programs out there to help with storm shelters?
There's really not. Actually, the director of emergency management, Albert Ashwood, you heard from him in the story, he actually just got back from Washington, D.C. He met with the Red Cross, and they are discussing a possible program, but nothing is in the works so far. So
it certainly is more clear after these May storms. We really, really need them.
Certainly.
Right. Thanks, Marla.